All right, today I'm going to review The Beginning of Infinity, Explanations That Transform the World by David Deutsch. This is a really interesting book, one of the most interesting books I've read in a long time. It covers a lot of topics, but the goal of all these different topics is he's trying to show how infinite progress can be made on a number of fronts. And he goes through the kind of creation of knowledge and a bunch of abstract things about that show how that can happen or why that won't happen if we don't do things right. But just to give you an idea of all the stuff he talks about, I have a list of some of the things he covers, and it's bizarre how diverse it is. So he covers the multiverse, infinity, political systems, knowledge, the reach and universality of ideas, beauty, the evolution of culture and creativity. There's a lot more stuff in there too, but those are just some of the topics he talks about. His background's in physics, and I think he's even won a bunch of awards in physics. I think he's like big in theoretical physics, I believe, but I'm not positive there. So he gets really deep into a lot of these topics, especially the multiverse and things that are kind of based in math or science, physics, things like that. He definitely gets deep in that. But I mean, the thing I like the most about this book, and the thing that is the most unique about this book, is just how quirky and brilliant the author is. I mean, a lot of books are very conservative in the way they approach topics. They're very straightforward. And you kind of need to do that to reach a mass market, a big audience. In this book, he talks about so many different things, and it's so abstract what he's trying to talk about in epistemology and the philosophy of science. And it's really something that you don't see a lot of authors doing. So I like that he did that in the first place. But then to actually write a really good book and be very knowledgeable and put a lot of information and thought into the book, it makes it something very special for me. Especially if you read a lot of books or a lot of nonfiction books. A lot of books say the same thing as other books, or they're using the same approach. They're not really covering new ground. They're not really doing anything new or different or unique. And this book is the complete opposite. A lot of the way he explains things, because everything's so abstract in the book, a lot of the concepts are abstract. So you can't just talk about it directly. You have to give analogies and a lot of weird ways of explaining it. And a lot of the ways he explains things, they might sound silly at first or kind of funny, but they're the kind of thing that when you're reading it, it sounds a little silly, but then an hour later, you'll be thinking about it and suddenly it'll click and you'll just realize how brilliant the explanation was all of a sudden. It's a very unique kind of book in that way. Not many books can do that where they explain something and you won't get it till later on when you're thinking about it again. I think that's something that really comes about because he's so smart. Like, he's thinking about things so far ahead and so in depth that when he's explaining stuff, at first explanations don't seem to really make sense until you sit and you really are thinking about it again. And that means that this book is not something that's really easy to get. The first time I read it, I didn't get all of it. I liked it. I mean, I enjoyed it. But when I came back and I reread it a second time for the review, I appreciated so many of his ideas more because I'd already thought about them. So now I'm kind of going over it again and I'm getting more out of it. And then I'm thinking harder about things and putting things together. So it's definitely something that you're either going to have to read more than once or you're going to have to read it really slowly. But I mean, it's really enjoyable. There's this phenomenon where if you repeat a word over and over again, eventually like the sound of the word doesn't make sense and it becomes abstract. It's like you've never heard English before or any language. It's this really, really weird feeling you get when you kind of look at something mundane so in depth that you kind of lose your bearings and it becomes really abstract and weird. And there's a lot of explanations in this book that have that characteristic. And you kind of got to read a little bit and then step back and think about it and go read some more because you get in this world of just abstractions and his explanations, and it gets a little bizarre, a little like Alice in Wonderland, that kind of thing. But I liked it. I think a lot of people will like it. But it's definitely not a book for everyone. Like I said, it's so abstract, it's quirky. It's not a mass market book. It's not for everyone. It's for a very unique group of people. But if you're one of those people that will appreciate the kind of quirky brilliance, abstract, philosophical aspects of the book, then this is going to be a book that you'll probably really love. I definitely love it. I think I'm going to definitely read it again in the future. But if that sounds interesting, if that's something that you might like, then definitely pick this book up and give it a read. It really is a brilliant book. The author's brilliant. But it's definitely not a book for everyone. But it's a book that I really appreciate and savor reading because it's just an experience you don't get from a lot of other books. So, again, if that's what you're into, definitely go pick it up. I definitely would recommend it for those people. So, I hope you guys like this video. I got more reviews coming soon, so like, subscribe, and I hope to see you guys in the next one.